Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm going over today's trade that I ended up taking today. I'm just going over price action today as well. This trade, low key, it was pretty trash. Um, it was forced, and I low key deserved to lose this. This was like a scenario of me recognizing poor conditions and still taking a trade. Now, I did manage to hit TP on this trade, but that doesn't mean that it was a good trade. The narrative behind the trade was decent. Don't get me wrong; it definitely had a good narrative behind it. But overall, like with price and what we've been doing today, it was bad. I shouldn't have taken it. So definitely something to learn from. I didn't get punished this time, which is just lucky, but this was bad. So let's just go over today's price action. So overall, in the overnight session, we literally had like a huge candle. Um, this was I don't know what happened here, but 883 points, got damn near 1,000 point candle in the overnight session. I don't know what happened. It was something got um anyway. So we had Trump apparently say something that actually didn't happen, and it ended up creating this huge candle. So yeah, overall off this, I was pretty bullish coming into today. We did open up this unfilled hourly gap at around 8. So pre-market opened up this unfilled hourly gap. And overall, what I was looking to see here was for price to retrace into this hourly gap and for us to potentially get a long from this gap here. Now, this would have been a stop onto on the hard time frame as well, considering we had a low inside of a 15-minute gap, which we also put in pre-market. This is going to be a 30-minute gap. Yeah, so a 30-minute gap. So we had a low inside this gap. And then as we see pre-market, we did actually end up inversing this 15-minute gap to the downside. So with that in mind, what I was looking to see was for price to start making its moves lower, and then for 930 to potentially open lower into this hourly gap, and then for us to look for some sort of continuation longs from there. Now that would have been an A plus setup. But what did 930 do on open? Boom, 930 opens lower here, and we sweep out this 5-minute intermediate low inside of absolutely nothing. So this is just a shitty low, literally means nothing, to be honest. And we ended up sweeping that out. And then after that, we got this 5-minute inversion on this next candle right here. This trade overall, this was a pretty bad trade. We are rejecting off of 0 key levels here, and it's just a 930 Judas with a low resistance liquidity at your stop loss and an unfilled hourly gap below. So it's just pretty bad. Considering we also inverse the 15-minute PD array, so you literally had no key level here whatsoever to take a trade off of. So pretty bad setup, F tier setup in my opinion. If you took that, lock in please. Anyway, let's move forward. So we kind of just started chopping here, and then we were coming into 10 a.m. and 10 a.m. did really nothing. It kind of opened a little bit higher, took out this swing high, and then from here we actually ended up opening a 5-minute gap. We didn't open up that 5-minute gap yet. So again, so like it's already 10 a.m. and 10 a.m. has no PD arrays. There's not a single PD array within this like a price at 10 a.m. So like this is just a sign that like I already recognize at this point that this was poor and low probability conditions, right? The only thing I did like were the targets above. I felt like we had good targets, but we also didn't really have any reason to go to those targets, especially with leaving this hourly gap here. But I'm going to show you the trade that I did end up taking here. So if I want to play with price a little bit here, I think it was right here. We ended up opening 5-minute gaps. Yeah. So I ended up opening these two 5-minute gaps, right? As you can see here, we had this more premium 5-minute, and then within this leg of price, we had this discounted 5-minute. Right here as well, right? So we had a discounted 5-minute within this 5-minute leg, and we also had a premium 5-minute. Of course, I was definitely not going to take any trades off that premium 5-minute. I'm going to be going over the first trade that ended up happening. So boom, we ended up coming into this premium 5-minute here, and then I think we ended up getting an inversion right here. So we ended up getting a 3-minute inverse right here. But the thing is about this 3-minute inverse is it is absolutely trash. The wicks are like so damaging in this. Like look at this wick. Like it's in a premium 5-minute first of all, but it's not sponsored by anything lower. So we do not have any sponsorship on the higher time frame for us to tap this 5-minute premium gap. And this inverse is literally terrible. It inverses it by like a tick, and it also leaves a rejection wick as it's inversing it. This is a really, really bad inversion, and it's just something definitely to avoid. So at this point, this was 1030. So 1030 ended up opening lower here. So what I was looking for at this point, even though I shouldn't have been looking for this, by the way, but I'm just explaining my thought process when I took this trade. It's basically for 1045 to have a stacking PO3 with 1030 and remanipulate into this discounted 5-minute. So we ended up coming into the discounted 5-minute here at 1037. And then if you want to skip ahead here, we just started to accumulate. And then 1035 opens and runs these lows here, these accumulation lows, with a nice rejection wick. So we had a 1035 stacking PO3, as we can see here, we had 1030. What did 1030 do? 1030 opened lower, generated more liquidity higher, and then we chop. 1045 opens lower here. So after this, I just kind of had conviction because I like the draws higher. I like the low resistance liquidity that we built up, leading towards a higher time frame DOL in the 735 high, and then of course the Trump highs all the way up here at 715 with that huge candle. And then immediately after this, we got a crazy strong reaction there. Boom, with this 1 minute CISD. Really, really good displacement. So I ended up entering longs on this next candle right here. So it's like, here was my entry. My stop loss was here, and I was actually just targeting this low resistance liquidity above, leading up to the higher time frame DOL. Now, this is just like, if we have looking like, I don't know. Like, I definitely shouldn't have taken this trade. This was definitely a forced trade in my opinion. There's not a singular 15-minute PD ray, and it is 10:45. There's only 5 minutes. 10 a.m. didn't even have a singular PD ray. We are literally bouncing off of no key level lower. We just left low resistance liquidity at 9:30 to that unfilled hourly gap. So with this, and we also inverse the 15-minute, right? So with this, like, it's just the conditions here are super, super poor. And we've also been kind of chopping around. It's just not really high probability. But I did like stacking PO3 and targets higher. But again, this is not a trade that I'm going to be taking again. This is going to be a journal trade. Even though I did end up hitting TP on this trade, I low-key deserve to lose this. So as we can see, price ended up literally edging my stop loss by like 5 points. And then we ended up displacing right here. And then we ended up displacing towards that draw. And I ended up taking profits. I think it was around here when I took profits. So I actually closed for less than a 1-to-1 because we have an SMT at this high. If you did hold to full draw, you would have hit TP anyway. So this trade did play out. And I just had my stop loss like right here just to hold for that 1-to-1. I didn't even end up getting 1-to-1. So like, this trade overall was just pretty poor. It did have a good stacking PO3, discounted 5 minute, good targets. But if you just look at what we've been doing for the entire market, like, we've just been crawling upwards, creating no PD rays, just chopping and chopping and chopping. So this is a trade that I definitely am not going to be taking again, and it will be avoided. I did end up making $500 on this trade today, but still, I think I took this with 7 micros. So yeah, just something definitely to journal and move on from, and not to take again. Even though it did hit TP, because more times than not, these kind of trades are going to punish me more times than they are going to reward me. So this is definitely something to avoid. Got to take accountability. Doesn't matter if we hit TP. And I think then from here, we literally just ended up selling off completely down to the hourly gap, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just play this out. So New York lunch opens, get like a retrace higher, and then we slam down to it, right? Yeah. Okay. So overall, I would rate this trade. I mean, the criteria for this trade, I would say this trade is probably like C plus, B minus, simply just because of the conditions. If we had like a 15-minute gap here and we were like delivering off an hourly gap here, this trade would have been A plus. But again, we did not have that by any means necessary. So this was an unsponsored 5 minute. So yeah, definitely something to journal and move on from, even though we did end up not getting punished for it today. And this is a low probability condition, so just got to avoid them. So I'm kind of pissed at myself that I ended up forcing this trade even after recognizing low probability conditions. So yeah, that's basically going to be it for today's trade recap, guys. This was literally the only setup I seen today. I mean, that 5 minute inversion off market open is dog shit. So yeah, except for that, I do think this was indeed trade of the day. But again, this was a really, really poor day, and this was a bad trade. So that literally just shows in itself how bad this day was, and that I just should have avoided it altogether, even though I did get rewarded, but I shouldn't have. So yeah, that's going to be it for today's trade recap, guys. Let me know if you ended up taking anything today. If you ended up hitting TP, break even, stop loss, whatever it may be, if you trade a different strategy, or if you even seen something that you had conviction in, leave it down below in the comments. And if you guys want to talk to me personally, my Discord, Instagram, and TikTok are going to be in the bio of this video. You can go check those out and give me a follow or a shout on any of those platforms, and I'll 100% respond if it is anything got to do with trading related. And yeah, we're going to be documenting this entire journey to profitability, so I'm excited for the future. Honestly, I'm kind of happy with today that I managed to learn something, even though I did hit TP, because I know my old self after hitting TP would have just been coping so hard and saying that this is a good trade, even though in my mind I know from experience now that this is not a good trade that I should have taken. This was a low probability conditions, and I should have been punished for this, but I ended up getting a little bit lucky with this. So definitely going to be journaling that and not taking a setup like that again in the future, and only taking setups like this when probability and conditions are good. So yeah, I will catch you guys in the next trade recap, which will be tomorrow. And except for that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, and peace out.